Hi friends, it's Yana here today, and I am so excited about today's hack. I found this beautiful, really light woven, and I wanted to make a romper. So I got to thinking, what Ellie Mac patterns can I use to make a romper out of this beautiful fabric? And I think I've got it. I'm using two different patterns. I'm hacking them just a little bit. I really hope this turns out, and if it does, it's gonna be so cute. So let's do it. Today I'm going to be using the Leonie Wrap top to do the bodice portion of it, except for the fact that I want it to be a little bit more drapey here at the front and also easy to get in and out of. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here on the sides and gather, and then a little bit bigger here at the bottom and gather. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. And then for the bottoms, I'm going to use the South Shore Romper bottoms. I think they're going to work. There are loose fitting bottoms already as it is. I might size up just a little bit. I fit into a size medium/large. I'm somewhere in between. So I'm going to go with the large size and hope that they fit. Usually when I make the South Shore rompers, they're looser here, and then you gather the waist to fit, right? So I'm hoping that that's going to translate correctly. And if it doesn't, then we'll have to figure it out. Let's go. Okay, so the back bodice I cut exactly the same. I just cut at the waistline, and I actually left a 1/2 inch seam allowance at the bottom just to connect. And then for the front bodice, also again, I cut leaving a 1/2 inch seam allowance here at the bottom. I'm gonna cut all this the same, but when I get here, I wanna spread this out and open it up about 4 inches, as wide as my fabric will allow me to go. Actually, we'll see how wide that is. So I'm gonna draw a line on my pattern just so I can see where I'm gonna split, where I split right there. And I'm gonna mark on my bodice as well. Now, this would be easier like this. I'm doing this because I'm doing it on a projector, but if you're doing it in a if you're doing this part on a piece of paper, what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your paper pattern, split it down the middle, and open it up as wide as you want. So I wanna do about 4 inches. So I'm gonna open it up 4 inches. That's what I'm planning on doing. So I am just marking here just a couple little lines so I know where I split at. I'm going to pin my fabric because I've got 2 mirror pieces on here, so I want them to both move at the same time. I don't want them to separate from each other, so I'm just gonna pin them. I just want to show you, I have a lot of people, the reason why I'm doing it here on my projector is because I do have a lot of people who ask me, like, how do you do all these little things in a projector? And it is quite possible. You just have to kind of trick a little bit. Okay, first of all, I drew a line on my projection, and so that's going to be my guide. I drew on my fabric to know, so I know where my guide is. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this side right here. The line is only there for me to know how much I'm moving it over. That is 4 inches, which is what I wanted to move it. So I literally just scooted it over from the line that I marked here to that line. I moved it over 4 inches. Oh, not quite 4 inches. Hold on. Move it a little bit more. And that's going to be like right at the edge of my fabric, which is great. That's exactly what I wanted. I thought I wanted 4 inches, so I wanted to make sure. Okay, 4 inches. You ask, why am I doing this? Because I want to gather this here. I want to have some gathering here at the shoulder and at the waist. So I want it to be gathered up. Is that gonna be good? I'm not sure. We're creating. That's what we're doing. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down the front and just finish it up like I would have. I'm in between sizes, so that's why you see 2 lines, because one is a medium and one is a large. But whatever size you have, if you just have one size, then that would be it. All right, so for my bottoms, I'm using the South Shore Romper, and I have the 2 sizes. I have the size I fit in and one size up. And I may size up around here, like at the bottom area, just so it gives me a little bit more room. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the shorts length, but I might go a little bit lower just because I like them a little bit longer. And then at the sides, I'm just gonna kind of go straight instead of tapering at all. I'm just gonna taper out a little bit because I want them to kind of flow out a little bit at my leg. That's just the style. I saw a picture. I'll share the picture with you. And so it's kind of the style that I wanted to go with the picture. And so that's why I kind of wanted to do that. So I'm just kind of flaring. Instead of going in, I'm kind of flaring out a little bit. It's literally like half an inch right there. I want to do the same on the other side. Okay, and I don't know if I'm gonna want them shorter. Hopefully I won't want them longer because I already cut them. So that's as long as they're gonna get. And then I'm gonna do the same for the front of the pants, the shorts, I mean. Add a little bit of width at the crotch area and then go out just a tiny bit on the sides. All right, for my sleeve, I just want a flutter sleeve, so I'm literally just going to be cutting like a couple of strips. Actually, let me make sure I find my half of my strips like right here. I am like just going for it. Hopefully it works. I'm going up to that half point here. And then at that half point, I'm going back down. I'm making 2 of those. I didn't really measure how long I made that. It's not super long, so it might not be a very tight flutter, but I think it'll be fine. If you wanna be more specific with your flutter, I do have a video here on our a tutorial video here on how to do flutter sleeves, how to have flutter sleeves. But there's also a video on you could also use the sleeves from the Diana pattern. Because what you need for your flutter sleeve is you probably need twice as much as that. And I may not have made twice as much as that, so my sleeve might not be complete fluttered. It might be just a cap sleeve actually. Let's see how wide. Well, it's gonna have a little bit of gather. You need the sleeve to be like the back and the front and plus a little bit of extra, and mine is not quite that much, but that's okay. I will gather a tiny bit, or I might make that a little bit longer. All right, friends, I hope all that made sense. So what we're gonna do next is I'm gonna grab my front bodices and I'm gonna put in a gathering basting stitch, long gathering stitch here at the top of the shoulder and here at the bottom of the bodice, because I'm going to gather them to fit the back bodice. So I'm gonna do that for both front bodices. My one front bodice has stain, so I'm gonna recut that. And then when I come back, I'll sew up my shoulders and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that. For the bottoms, I'm gonna grab one front and one back and create the legs. So I'm gonna grab one front and place it right sides together with one back and sew those sides and inner seams. So we're just gonna go ahead and get right to it. I'm gonna be using my serger, but it's gonna be on a safety stitch, which does a straight stitch and a finishing edge stitch. Called a chain stitch and a finish edge to create a safety stitch. But if you don't have that on your sewing machine or your serger, you could sew this on a sewing machine first and then finish the raw edge with either a serger or a sewing machine zigzag stitch so it's not gonna fray on you. I'm going to show you, this is what a safety stitch looks like. That's my finished edge and that's my chain stitch right there, my straight stitch, and it finishes it off nicely. All right, so we've got gathers at the top of our bodice and a little bit at the bottom of our bodice. And I'm gonna face our bodice right sides together here at the shoulders and sew that up. Make sure that your gathers are nice and fitted here, like they look good. So we're gonna sew that at the top and on the other side as well. All right, so once I'm done sewing that, I'm not gonna worry about this bottom part yet, quite yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hem all the way around the bodice here. So I'm gonna sew those sleeves up, and I'm gonna hem around the bodice, and I'm gonna hem the sleeves, the bottom of the sleeves, so that way once I attach them, this bottom part is hemmed. So I'm gonna hem that, and then I'm gonna hem also the bottom of my shorts here. But with my shorts, what I'm gonna do too at the same time is I'm gonna grab one, fold it right side out, and fit it inside the other one and sew the crotch seam. For all the hemming, I'm gonna use a rolled hem foot with this delicate fabric. It's just a nice foot to use. All right, so we're gonna start by sewing a straight stitch here on my fabric first. It's just gonna help me to guide my fabric as I stitch it on, as I get it on there. Okay, I'm gonna grab that thread right there, and I just wanna guide my fabric into the foot. Foot down, and then get it started. Really, getting it started is the hardest part, but once it's started, it's pretty easy. You're just allowing the fabric to go through, getting caught right there, and that foot is kind of twisting the fabric into a little hem, and I'm going to show it to you when I'm done. And this is what it looks like on the wrong side, and this is what it looks like on the right side. So pretty, so delicate, so beautiful. So I'm gonna do that for the sleeves. I'm gonna do that for the hem of the pant. I'm actually not gonna hem them yet because I wanna see how long they are and see if I need to hem them shorter or longer. I don't know. Well, not longer, it can't be longer. I'm actually gonna start hemming at the edge of my fabric here and go all the way around, because that way this part right here will be also hemmed, so it's not gonna fray on me. All right, I hope you're not looking at the pile of fabric that's in the back. I just looked that way and I was like, we're not thinking about that right now. We're thinking about this right now. Next step, we're gonna work on our sleeves, and I'm going to grab my sleeve, and I forgot to put that gathering stitch, but I didn't really sew them. Actually, let me go on that gathering stitch real quick, and I'll be right back to show you how I'm gonna attach them, because I am not going to go all the way down to the bottom of the sleeve. And reason being, I don't want it to go on my armpit. I want this to be empty down here at the armpit. So that part is gonna get hemmed. So that's why I'm not going all the way down. So I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do that. Okay, so we're gonna open up that side, and I did mark my half here on my sleeve. So I'm gonna make sure that I match up that half here. And I wanna go about a couple of inches away from each edge. So see if I have a ruler. Okay, so we're going a couple of inches away from each edge. So then I'm gonna gather my sleeve to fit. Okay, and then I'm gonna attach it, edging, leaving that edge out, like I'm coming out there. Because then I'm going to, once that's attached, I'm gonna fold this under and top stitch. Like I'm gonna serge it on, and then this edge I'm gonna turn and top stitch it to get it under and get it like hemmed. And I'm gonna do the same on the other side, and the same for the other sleeve. I want to start here at the edge because I want that this to be finished, so that's why I'm serging over that as well. Okay, now I'm over here, and I'm just literally going to fold that down a little bit and top stitch it to the inside of the bodice. So I'm just like creating a hem there. I want that to be closed. Now you can go all the way up and top stitch the whole sleeve, and maybe I'll just go ahead and do that. That way it looks more uniform. And actually I will change my stitch to a regular stitch because I had it on my basting stitch, so I can pull that one right out. Okay, now we're doing a regular stitch. Make sure that your seam allowance, it's towards your bodice right now, so it's getting cut right there when I'm sewing. This stitch right here is that basting stitch, that gathering stitch, which I'll remove later. I just ran out of bobbin thread, but that's okay because I kind of was looking at it. It looks really good, but I probably should sew those sides first and then fold and then sew this down, because that way my edge, my seam allowance here, my serger tail will be tucked under. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to sew the sides first and then sew this down, the rest of it. I'm already super excited about how this is going to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sew the side seams. Now, the front bodice is going to be kind of gathered, so it's not like the front piece is not going to go all the way to the edge. I'm not bringing it all the way to each edge. And so since I'm not bringing it to each edge, I'm not going to worry about, that's why I wanted to hem that like little curve, because it's going to go somewhere else. It's going to go like in the middle. So it's not going to go all the way to the sides. So I'm not going to worry about attaching those sides just yet. I'm just attaching just the sides of the bodices. And then the front is going to be still open, because what I want to do, since this is a romper that has not been tested, I'm just sewing it up. I'm making it as I go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try it on, and I'm going to gather this to fit however I want this to fit here at the front, and pin it, and then, or clip it. And then I'm going to baste it shut. And then I'm going to sew the pants and the bodice at the same time and add elastic to bring it into my waist. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like it needs to be loose fitting, so that way I can get it in and out of me. And then with the elastic, I'll bring it in, if that makes sense. If we make this tight, if we bring this tight here, it's not going to stretch out for you to get it on and off. And it's a romper, so we are going to have to get it on and off. So that's why I'm going to first try it on, and we're going to leave it gathered, so that way it can stretch as you put it on and off. I hope that makes sense. Again, we're folding that seam allowance towards the inside, and then we're just top stitching. All right, now remember, a romper you have to kind of step into. So I want to make sure that this I'm going to be able to step into, and it's going to go through my hips. So I want to make sure that that's wide enough right there, and I'm not gonna get like cut, and I'm having a hard time because it's just clipped on. I don't want it to come apart. Okay, so if that is good and it looks good, obviously there's no elastic right now, so the elastic will bring this in more. I think this is gonna be good. I'm gonna put a little device here to keep it shut, so it's not just gonna open. That way I don't have to wear an undershirt at all times. And another thing I noticed is I didn't think about the fact that this bodice is supposed to go all the way over, which I don't want it to go all the way over because I don't want it to be tight here. And I just kind of want it to rest right here. So because it's meant to go over, you have all this extra fabric here for it to cross over, which I guess it could, but then it wouldn't give me a lot of room to move. So what I'm doing is I'm folding this edge up to get rid of that. And I'm going to cut that off. So that's going to be cut off, and I'm going to do that on both ends. So the pieces that kind of stick out, that's supposed to go all the way over, I'm just going to cut straight, and then that's going to be folded in. So then this will have the elastic here, and will be attached to the bottoms, and we'll be good to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna cut the bottom edge of that, and I'm going to baste this front together with that stitch. And then I'm gonna grab some clear elastic, because that's what I'm gonna add. Well, then I'm gonna attach, I think I'm gonna try to see if I can attach the bottoms to the top first, and then I'll add the elastic to bring it all in. I could add the elastic first. Maybe I'll add the elastic to the bottom. I don't know. We'll just go as, what I'll do is I'll measure my waist. I'll add the elastic and gather the bottoms with the elastic, and then I'll attach the bottoms to the top. That way I gather the top to fit the bottoms. Because on the back, I did not do anything to the back. So the back still fits nicely. I didn't want the back to be like gathered or anything. I wanted the front to be gathered. I want this to still fit at the shoulders. I want it to fit nicely, but I wanted this to be more oversized. So it's got more room, more ease, and that's why this is bigger at the front. All right, let's do all that. We're almost done. Okay, so this is the part that I'm cutting off. I'm literally just gonna go straight through, so it's just a straight piece. Like so. So that will be there. And then right here in the front, I'm gonna cut this piece. Also straight through. Y'all are probably like, oh, how do you know how much you're cutting? Well, I tried it on, and then I decided how much I wanted to cut off, and that's how much I'm cutting off. Okay. Then I'm gonna overlap them again, like I did. And I think I wanna gather this up, so it's gotta gather here. So I think I'm gonna go give it a gathering stitch. Actually, I think I had this one over, so that way. I'm not really sure. Anyway, I might go give it a little bit of a gathering stitch there, so that way it is gathered. And I'm going to clip these together and baste them together. And honestly, doesn't matter, because I'm gonna be using elastic, so the elastic is gonna gather this anyway when I sew it up it's gonna gather it to my waist anyway, so it's gonna make all these gathers come in. So I'm gonna put in a gathering stitch here, gather this a little bit more so it's more gathered, and then baste the front and the back together here. Not the front and the back, the two fronts. The back doesn't get basted, sorry. And then on the pants, so here's my bottoms. I have my back, my front. You can see the back is higher than the front. All right, so I'm gonna attach some clear elastic, and it's gonna be about 2 inches smaller than my waist. And I'm gonna mark it. Marker is, so I'm just gonna mark it with this right here. So that's how wide I want the elastic. And then I'm gonna mark my half. And then for my half, I'll mark my quarters. And I'm gonna go to my sewing machine and gather my bottoms to fit my waist. And you can, once you gather them, you can try them on and make sure they fit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my sewing machine, and well, that yellow one did not do its job. There we go. Now I have quarters, because that's the beginning one. Okay, so I'm gonna stretch this to gather each section, and I'm gonna show you how on my sewing machine. So I'm changing my stitch to a zigzag stitch, and I'm just kind of lengthening because I like to do it a little bit longer. And then I'm gonna start with the back. I'm gonna put the elastic right on the back where it should go. And then I'm going to be attaching it about a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Well, right at the edge. So I'm gonna tack it down first. Then I'm gonna go right here to that first point, that first 1/4 point, and I'm gonna pull that first 1/4 point all the way to the half of my bottom as I'm stretching that elastic. And then I'm just sewing it on. I don't know why I had lengthened it and wasn't long enough. So see, I'm just pulling it. And as I do that, it gathers my fabric for me right there. So then I'm gonna pull the next one to the next 1/4 point and go all the way around. Then I just clip the clear elastic and we're done with that. See how that's gathered now? Woo, I'm so excited. We're almost to the end, except for I do want to do a waistband, so that's going to be super easy. I hope I have enough fabric because I don't know if I mentioned earlier, one of my sides had a stain on it, so I had to cut another one, and when I cut it the wrong way. So I cut two of the same way, so I have to cut another one. So now I actually have two fronts, but one is stained. And so I hope I have enough for the sash because I really want to put a sash on this. But I think I do. But so anyway, we'll have to do the sash and that will be it. So next we're gonna grab our bottoms and our top and we're gonna sew them right sides together. Finish gathering that piece right there that I cut and it went kind of straight and I want it gathered. So when I sew these two together, the bottoms to the top, I'm gonna change my stitch to just a serger stitch. I'm not going to do a chain stitch because I don't want this to be tight. Like I don't want this to not be stretchy. I want this to be able to stretch. Like I want these gathers to be able to give when I'm wearing it, when I'm opening it, when I'm putting it on, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna turn this bodice inside out and then I'm gonna fit my bottoms in here. So right sides together. Make sure that you know which one's your front and which one's your back. So maybe I'll mark it with a green clip where my front is, which is the lower part, and then we're gonna fit them in. And then find your center, match the center up, and then your sides, and then your back. But let me see, find my back. As you can see, you'll probably have to stretch your pants a little bit to fit that waist, so it's gonna gather right in a little bit. Same with the front, you probably have to stretch a little bit. Make sure that they're even. All right, now it's set on my serger stitch and I'm going to sew that up. I'm so excited about this. I am trapping my clear elastic in the seam allowance. I'm not cutting my clear elastic off. It is staying on there, it's just in the seam allowance. I know you can't see it, but my clear elastic's still in there and it's shiny, stretchy. Now I cut two strips of fabric about 6 inch wide and I'm gonna attach them right sides together at the long edge, at the short edge, sorry, first. And then I'm gonna create one long strip by folding them right sides together and sewing that edge closed. And then I'm gonna sew the whole length of it closed. See, the right sides together here. And then I'm gonna leave a gap somewhere in the middle where I can turn it right side out. And then at the other end, we're gonna close that gap up again, the other gap. All right, I'm gonna turn this around. I'll close that gap with a straight stitch on my sewing machine, the gap I left. I actually made the tie a little bit skinnier. It was a little too fat, so it's about 4.5 inches wide, folded in half, so it ends up being 2 inches after I do the seam allowance. I just didn't want it to be as thick as it was. Oh, after we're done with this, all we have left to do is to hem our romper. So I'm gonna try it on and see how much I wanna hem, and I'm gonna do just the exact same thing I did for my sleeves, just a little hem. And then we're done, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'll fold these ends in and just top stitch or hand stitch that part closed. All right, friends, we are done with this romper. I think it turned out adorable. I love the flutter sleeves. I think it looks so super cute. What do you think? Comment below and let me know. I am ready to go on my cruise. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Let me know if you're gonna try this hack. And yeah, I'll see you all next time.